functioning in their capacity to provide credible alternatives? What happened to the pressure groups? What happened to the civil liberty organizations? What happened to the civil society organizations? What happened to the interest groups? What happened to the religious groups? What happened to the faith-based groups? What happened to the youth organizations? Why is it difficult for the people to come out and speak in the face of all of this? See, on record, I stand to be corrected, but I'm not sure if we have any Nigerian living as we speak that has participated in as much protest as the current president of this country. The president stood against the military. In fact, he stood against a democratically elected government of the former president Goodluck Jonathan. Remember the Occupy Nigeria 2012 protest, where subsidy was removed and then the entire country was shut down. The likes of Pastor Tᴜņɪᴏ Cᴏɪ, the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, all of these people, on daily basis were asking questions. Why should the president remove subsidy? It is evil. The president should not outrightly remove subsidy. But guess what? Many years after, the president then, the leader of the opposition then, that is now the president, at the point where he was sworn in on the 29th of May 2024, he announced the official removal of subsidy. The same person that suggested to the former president that subsidy should be removed in batches, he came in and the story changed. Take a listen to the soundbite I'm going to play. It is the voice of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Then it was the APC presidential candidate leading to the 2023 election. When I come back, my guest is already seated, and Mr. Olufemi Lawson will take us through this whole concept of conspiracy of silence. Why is nobody speaking? Cost of power is rising by the day. Cost of medical services is rising and is almost becoming unaffordable for Nigerians. Cost of education is rising. People are pulling their kids out of school to take them to public schools that are absolutely collapsed already. But you know what? Nobody is asking questions. The Nigerian Labour Congress seems to be comfortable with the 70,000 minimum wage, an agreement that was reached when petrol was a little over 500 naira. But now petrol is over 1,000. What do we do with 70,000 naira minimum wage? The Trade Union Congress is also speaking and singing a different tune. All of this will be sorted on the show today. My name is 광𴑰ᴜᴜ Akin. It's my pleasure to have you join us. I will take this quick soundbite. When I come back, my guest is already on the show, listening to me right now, and I'll bring him in. This is the Situation Room, live on Mainland 98.3 FM. I'll be right back.
Things seems anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us now, there is nothing, we are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 광𴑰ᴜᴜ Akinyode as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll welcome you roommates as we discuss the situations.
those who could improve this situation for the good of all of us do not allow the opportunity to make things better for us. They make it better for themselves, for their comfort and their families. Cronyism is prevailing. Today,
Our rulers in Abuja and across some of their states, you know what they say to us when they remove subsidy and we say no. Hunger is increasing, they say so what? Unemployment is a cause, they say yes, we know. Why are the people hungry? Is then let them face death. That is what is in Abuja of today. The current way of governance make nation do the impossible. What it does, it makes poverty and the erosion of just society inevitable. We have gathered at this hour in this place to put an end to the national corruption and corruption. We have assembled here today to bring a new day and a new Nigeria to our people. Today, the Nigerian people are decent and hardworking people. They are equally long suffering. They tolerate for too long. Just because they are long suffering does not mean they should be forced to suffer until death comes. We, our people, we've had enough of excuses. Our people have had enough of having nothing. The current government's trademark is to throw empty words, call action at our problem, as if doing nothing will cause our troubles to live for sheer boredom. Unemployment increasing. Industrialization, we have not. Refinery, nothing is working. Electricity, they lie. If this is the government of, if this is the government's idea of transformation, and we have none of it, we should not have any of it. Because before, we say the government of slow motion. Now, it is the government of no motion at all. If they want to stand still at the bus stop or train station and be stagnated without poverty, they have the right to do so, and we have a right to kick them out. Not enough that they are stealing from our children tomorrow for lack of investment in education. They are still embezzling the retirement benefit of hardworking Nigeria, including our grandfathers. They are stealing the port, the treasury, not even leaving some coins for us to war with. Let them be out. Out now.
Wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ bí ọ̀rọ̀ epo àwọn á di 200 á di bàbá. Ẹ fọkàn balẹ̀, a máa gbé wálẹ̀.
Okay, welcome back. Those were the words of the now president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In 2012, he was the leader of the then opposition party, the Action Congress of Nigeria. And that long speech was the one he made at the Occupy Nigeria protest in 2012, protesting against the removal of subsidy by the former President Goodluck Jonathan. Then petrol was less than 100 naira. The shorter one you heard was last year, or maybe late 2022, prior to the 2023 election, where the president was talking in Abeokuta, where he said, don't worry, they said they want to take petrol to 200, they said they want to take petrol to 500, but we will bring it down. However, the story has changed. Within the last, a year plus, it has gone from 200 to 500 to 800. Now it is over 1,000 naira. How much is the cost of a bag of rice? How much is a tuber of yam? How much is gari? How much is beans? How much is medical, the medications that you take? Somebody told me today that there's a particular eye drop he buys for maybe about 4,000 plus, but now it is almost 18,000. I have a friend that is dealing badly with asthma. He can barely afford his inhaler. So I had to make that call last week Friday that do whatever you can within your power to make sure you stay healthy in this country today. Make sure you take a lot of water, keep your body going, try the best you can to have your vitals checked at least once in a year. It's not that expensive. Check your organs, check everything, because if anyone falls ill in this country today, the story is not good. Go to the hospitals, private and public and general hospitals. You would see how difficult it is for Nigerians to afford basic medications in a country that promises us democracy, in a country that came with a renewed hope agenda. Well, Mr. Tᴜɪᴛᴛᴇʀ is here. He's been here all along, and I'm sure he's had enough of my lamentation. But I bring you into this conversation, Mr. Tᴜɪᴛᴛᴇʀ. Good evening, and thank you for making your debut on the show, The Situation Room.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I sincerely appreciate your passion, the patriotism behind your opening, and the fact that whether we like it or not, Nigeria today is not where we ever wish as citizens. That nonetheless, whatever it is that we are currently experiencing today as a nation, is not, an accident. It is not what we just woke up to realize. This is a product of, accumulated, in leadership, accumulated period of, disregard for transparency and accountability in governance. So, if anybody has brought an angel to the president of Nigeria, particularly in 2023, I am not sure we would have been anywhere better than we are. I was watching a visual of the candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, and that video was shot last year, and I saw him, also alluding to the fact that he would also have devalued the naira, and he would also have taken loan and some other things that we are currently experiencing. I think we must look at how we got to this point, that as a nation, we are now competing. If we have not actually won the trophy for the poorest nation in the world, today the average Nigerian home only strives to eat, not even to afford the basic necessities of life. It's tragic to the extent that while a lot of Nigerians were pursuing series of interest and ambition in 2023, myself and just some others were not particularly interested, because we knew that what was going to be inherited from the Buhari administration of 8 years was going to be a catastrophe. If anyone who was here until 2015 and looked at where we are as a country, biggest economy in Africa, one of the fastest growing economy in the world, among the leading 20 economy, and all other gains that we made between 1999 and 2015, and where we were in between 2015 and 2023, you must both agree that whoever inherited the Nigerian nation from Buhari in 2023 inherited, a badly damaged country. I was watching a particular visual of the Minister of Aviation, Mr. Festus Keyamo, while he was, bringing out the document regarding the infamous Nigeria bilateral contract with the Ethiopian Airlines.
I saw it yesterday morning, and I just imagine
if your primary 6 pupil have come home and presented that document to you as an agreement, breached with his classmate in school, I'm very sure you
should flog him.
A serious level of flogging on him or her, because that was not just corruption, it was not just fraud, it was an assault on the nation. It was a case of, threat to our existence as a nation, and it was a case of monumental sabotage against our nation by the Minister of Education under Buhari, who has the full consent and authority of the then president. So, in the nutshell, whatever you are seeing today I want to sincerely opine that it is not a product of the last 1 year and I think 5 months or thereabouts. It is a calamity inherited, particularly from the immediate past administration, which nobody would have been able to remedy in 1 year and 5 months. Though Nigerians had a lot of expectations from President Bola Tinubu, judging by his background, not only as the former governor of Lagos State, but like you alluded in your preamble, that he is from the pro-democracy background. But the truth is that there's no magic President Tinubu can do except if we collectively agree that this country has been badly damaged and we must go through the path that can rescue this country from the current situation, which in my own opinion is restructuring.
Okay, Mr. Olufemi, thank you for helping us set the conversation on the right mood that I actually wanted to take. Now, I'm going to put the whole conversation around what we inherited or where we're coming from. This same game was played for 8 years, all under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, we're talking about the same party that transited into each other, the APC, from 2015 to 2023. Now the APC also took over a bit. A lot of people may say, the current president stayed away from the last administration, but you cannot take away the role the current president played in the last administration, especially how the former president got into office. The same place he made a statement of ⴰ was the same place he also alluded to the fact that the then president cried 3 times after losing election, and he told him to come, that he would help him to become president. So he alluded to the fact that he played a major role in the emergence of former President Muhammadu Buhari. So let's keep that to one side. Now, I'm more interested in, I'm not even going to look at the challenges because we all know what the problems are. I'm more interested in the fact that people that are supposed to provide checks and balances, that are supposed to, create alternative or options for Nigerians, are keeping quiet. Let's start from the opposition party, whether we like it or not. If you look at the structure that democracy in the world thrives on, Mr. Lawson, it is thriving on the people first. And that is why the basic understanding of democracy says the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So it's a case of a minority interpreting the yearnings and the aspirations of the majority. And that is why the political class in this country, I'm not sure they're up to 1 million, and we have an average population of over 220 million. So why is it that in the face of all of this, Mr. Lawson, the people that are supposed to speak truth to power have been quiet? Is this a case of Nigerians being subdued, or is it a case of a conspiracy for everyone to just keep quiet? And that is what I wanted to talk to us about today.
Well, I think it's important to say that the biggest opposition in any democracy are the people. A lot of times, we ascribe the role of opposition in a democracy to the opposition political party, the civil society. In some society, you ascribe it to the media. In some society, you want to call out the faith-based organization. In some society, you want to say, the students have gone to sleep. Just like you alluded to, the entire membership of the whole opposition party in Nigeria cannot even measure up to the 5% of our population.
True.
As we speak. So when you say the opposition or the majority, it should be the people. But there have been series of deliberate attempts at ensuring that the voice of the people, who are supposed to be the major opposition in this democracy, remains unheard. Oftentimes also, the people have wrongly believed that it is the opposition party, the civil society, the media that should fight for them. I have often be fundamentally opposed to people who share some of the opinion you shared in your intro, that when Jonathan was there, some people were in the opposition. Pastor Tğᴇ Cᴏɪ, 19-something-year-old Professor Soyinka, Tğᴇ Cᴏɪ, that why are they not quiet? The question is, whoever told anyone that these people were created rather to fight your battles? Nobody was created to fight the battle of the society for anyone. The fact that people, out of their conviction, people like Pastor Bakare, people like Professor Wole Soyinka, people like Sheikh Sani, people like Late Dumaki, you even mentioned the now president Bola Tinubu, a lot of persons, Femi Falana, the Odras People's Congress, the Self-Determination Group, my own organization, Campaign for Democracy, and the fact that they took up the fight against successive governments in Nigeria, it doesn't in any way, should not in any way rather be construed as their statutory responsibility to the society. It was a matter of choice for Professor Soyinka, a now 90-year-old person who in his 80s was leading protests in Ojota while people in their 1820s were busy playing soccer, playing football on the street of Lagos. Every generation must, out of relative authority, discover its mission. It is not left for that generation to fulfill it or betray it. In the words of Prof. Fanon, I think whatever it is today that has made Nigerians look like a people that are captured, that make Nigerians look like a people who have no direction, should be blamed on the current generation of Nigerians. For me, I'm not going to be making any sense if I sit back and I'm asking a 90-year-old Professor Soyinka to come and call out the administration of President Bola Tinubu. I would not be in my right frame of mind to be calling out the likes of Tğᴇ, who have slept 17 times in detention under the military. Mr. Femi Falana, who have gone to prison in Lagos, Gashua, Jos, and all over the place, to come in 2024 and be fighting because of the price of petroleum product. What is our current generation doing? If you look at when this generation of people took up the battle for a better Nigeria, a lot of them were in their 30s, their early 40s, some of them even less than 30. And they did this, they fought till they got to their 50s, 60s. Professor Soyinka fought until his 80s. What are the generations behind? What have they been doing to rescue this country? If we were not on the streets of Ikorodu Road and some other parts of the country, where a lot of our people were killed, where a lot of young people there who would have been in the age of the Falanas, the Bakares, the Odumakes today, were killed, there would not have been democracy in Nigeria. That generation took it up, fought the military to stand still, and in 1999, we had a return to democracy. 25 years after, we are still expecting people who stood in the barricade in Yaba, in the Ikorodu Road, in Mokola, in Ibadan, in Kaduna, on the street of Benin, Port Harcourt, to come and be fighting because petrol is now 1,000 naira in 2024. I think it is now time to begin to call out the current generation of Nigerians. What are they doing? Like I said, was anybody created to come and fight our battles? It is no. As a generation, we must discover our mission. If the current generation feels they are comfortable with the way Nigeria is being run, if the current generation feels they are comfortable with the level of poverty, if the current generation feels they can buy petrol at 2,000 naira per litre, it is not going to be the problem of Soyinka. If petrol is sold for 5,000 naira today per litre, Falana will buy it. Tğᴇ will buy it. A lot of them will be able to afford it. But how many of us can afford it as a generation of young people? And that's why we must stop calling out people who have paid their due and call out ourselves as a generation that is the current generation in Nigeria. What are we doing? I think the time has come for us to stop calling out people who have paid their due. They were never elected, appointed, recruited or paid as our higher fighters. It was a generational duty for them. They took it on and they have played their part. Let a new generation of Nigerians lead the charge. We were here during NSAS. Soyinka was not part of NSAS. Falana was not there. Oᴜᴜᴜ was not there. But you saw the achievements made by young people during the NSAS. You saw the gains made by the virtue of the fact that whether anybody like it or not, the young people forced the leadership of the police to disband the notorious, special security squad. Today, daily reporting an incident of police brutality or harassment on social media can get a policeman sacked. Those are the gains that we can make as a generation. I think enough is enough with the idea of thinking, oh, what are these people doing? Let our own generation, let the current generation fight their own battle.
Thank you very much. Well, I belong to the same generation you just called out. The same generation, yeah, exactly. The same generation that forms over 60% of the entire population. But however, now let me put it to you. During the NSAS protest, which I was a big part of in terms of coverage, I mean, a lot of lives were lost, even though, authorities would still come out to say, oh, it's a different case. But during the visitation panel that was set up in Lagos, we saw a lot of realities in there. Now, let's put that to one side. Very recently, there was the End Bad Governance protest that was, held across the Federation. Till today, except a few of them that were granted bail, some of these young people that you said they should come out and ask questions were charged to court for treasonable felony, and that particular crime carries capital punishment. So you've led us into the conversation today. Is it that the people are being suppressed by the nature of this administration that doesn't seem to have a friendly outlook to protest or a reaction or demonstration from the people, or you feel it is deliberate effort to make sure that not be chobele food they go protest? How do we place that in the context, Mr. Lawson?
I think for the purpose of public education, I think one of the things that this question has brought out is the need for us to return history, not only to our schools, but to our public conversations, even on the media, on the social media. If we return history to our public conversations, civic education, school curriculum, you want to agree with me that whatever is happening today is not new. The fact that people were arrested during bad governance or NSAS, the fact that people were killed, is not enough for a generation to sit back. Let me tell you this. During the struggle for the actualization of June 12, aftermath of the annulment of the June 12 presidential election in 1993, if history has been taught, and it is regularly discussed in our public conversation, including programs like this generation will have been made to know the number of Nigerians who were arrested and detained, the number of Nigerians who were killed on the streets of Ikorodu Road, who were killed in Mokola in Ibadan, who were killed at the University of Ibadan Gate, who were killed in the University of Lagos, who were killed on the streets of Benin, who were killed in Kaduna, who were killed across the country, fighting for the actualization of June 12. A lot of this generation would have also known how people like Femi Falana, Beko Ransom Kuti, Joke Ogimaki, Chief Gani Fahimi, Shehu Senator Shehu Sani, and a host of others were hunted by the military junta, arrested, moved from one prison to the other. They would have known the number of nights that pro-democracy activists spent in Kaduna, in Pansi, in Kirikiri. In actual fact, it didn't end there. Even while we attained democracy, when the Obasanjo regime came in 1999, it was a pseudo-military regime because it was also opposed to criticism. I, as a person, and two other friends, were detained for 21 days by federal authorities for writing an article against the Obasanjo regime in 2005. in this country. 21 days in underground cell. So if people are arrested in end-back governance or NSAS, it is not the first time. But how did we attain democracy? If by the time we are protesting, the military must go, and they pick up Falana, they're called Oᴜᴜᴜ and the likes, and everybody goes back home, Nigeria would have remained under the military rule today. If, when Obasanjo came, and there were attacks against civil liberty, I would sit back and keep quiet. Nigeria would have become a one-party state far back before now. But the fact that we have continued, consistently made demand, consistently demanded for change, is why we have been able to make this level of progress, whether anybody likes it or not today. So for me, I don't think whatever challenge we are confronted with as a generation today is enough to discourage us from fighting for what is right. These battles are not, tea parties. These battles are not what can be won by the virtue of a day protest or two. I'm talking about the number of times we have had to march from Yaba bus stop to Ojota. The number of times we have marched from Yaba bus stop to Alausa. The number of times we have had to march from UI Gate to Mokola to Agodi Secretariat in Ibadan. The number of times people march from Benin Ring Road through the city of Benin to the university of Benin. The number of times people were arrested, detained, put into Kirikiri without being taken to court during the military. But today, we have democracy, whether it's where we want or not. Today, Nigerians are free from what they would have experienced under an Abacha or a Babangida regime. Today, we are even far better than we were under Obasanjo in 1999, where journalists will write, and they can be easily picked around. We wrote an article as young, school students, and were locked up for 21 days. So it is not, but we must be persistent in our demand for change. We must be persistent in our criticism of government to the extent that we'll get the desired change. So if anybody thinks the fact that we are arrested, the fact that we are tear gassed is enough for us to go and sit at home, I'm sorry for the generation. There may not be change.
Okay. In case you're just tuning in, I have been speaking with Mr. Olufemi. Now, if you understand the last few minutes that he's been talking, then you know that he's been at the forefront of the conversation for pro-democracy government in this country. He's also a right activist. He's just someone that understands where the conversation is coming from. And by the way, it looks like Ikorodu played a very significant role, in our democratic journey in this country. If I have Mr. Miwa Adeyemi as the chief political editor of Guardian newspaper in the studio, he makes mention of Ikorodu. Now you've talked about it. I've had conversation with Mr. Femi Falana SN. He's also mentioned Ikorodu. Well, the station is broadcasting from Ikorodu. So I guess,
fantastic.
Yes, I guess we all have roles to play in all of this. But Mr. Lawson, now you made mention of the fact that people need to keep asking questions. People need to keep putting pressure on the government. But how do you explain a situation where the gulf of class between the government and the governed is getting wider by the day? So let me say this to you. 21 billion was used to build the house for the vice president of Nigeria, and the midst of all of this chaos, 21 billion naira, that's a lot of money. Mr. Lawson, very recently the presidency took delivery of, well, you may say that the president will have to travel in luxury, but the huge amount of money, escalades were bought for the convoy of Mr. President. It's been a whole lot of issues left and right. But you look at the other side. So if the presidency are saying Nigerians should make sacrifices, if they are saying Nigerians should tighten their belt, if they are saying Nigerians should endure a bit, but you look at the other side, the fact that the people that are supposed to lead the sacrifice conversation are living fat on the sweat of the people, and in return we are paying tax over and over again. How do you expect people to still have the mind and the grit and the energy to go out and ask questions when in the face of make sacrifices is not being made?
Well, you see, until we realize that the sovereignty, the power, the country, the democracy belong to the people, then we'll continue to sit back and say, oh, the president bought jet, bought Escalade, National Assembly members are buying SUVs, and we'll sit back and be lamenting. It's just like you run a farm, you are the farm owner, you buy the implements, you stock up the. Your farm manager comes one day, so I need luxury, get an SUV for himself. The farm accountant comes the next day, get a luxurious apartment for himself, and as the farm is in decreasing, you are spending so much, forgetting your authority as a farm owner. That is the case of Nigeria. Nigerians sit back, see the president, their governor, and their chairman as their own employer, rather than seeing them as their own employee. In democracies, where the people are, and you cannot totally break this generation. Like I said, education has been taken away from our people from all angles. Political parties are not doing education, they are only waiting for the next election. Statutorily, serious opposition political parties have statutory responsibility of voters' education and enlightenment. But now everybody will say, INEC is not doing enlightenment. It's not the job of INEC. It is the job of political parties. How many political parties in Nigeria today organizes seminar, symposium, or community engagement to sensitize the people? None. The only time you see our political parties is when there are elections and they are on the streets campaigning. If they are doing this job, the president, the governor, the local government chairman, our employees with comfort, pleasure should be determined on the basis of our wishes and aspirations. But in the case of Nigeria, the reverse is the case. We don't think the president budget, we are here lamenting. Where in the real sense of it, we have all it takes. For God's sake, what does it cost us as Nigerians to insist that the National Assembly must not procure 460 SUV? And that, you understand, all is required is maybe 7 days of picketing the National Assembly. And we have seen government rescind a lot of decisions in this country on the basis of protest. The occupied Nigeria that you have continued to refer to was, the National didn't just wake up to reverse the price of petroleum products. It was because people picketed the economy. Ports would not open, airports would not open, the streets were locked, shut down, and the government had no choice. But in this case, we sit back, resort to Twitter and Facebook, and lament that they bought SUV, the president is buying it, behaving as if the president owns us, the governors own us, forgetting the fact that they are actually our employees, that they feed on our Commonwealth, that they are paid by our Commonwealth. So if we don't realize this, as a part of anyone who wants to keep, I would rather criticize, hit on the government for doing this, rather than lamenting, because I know that if the citizens say no, it will be no. But how many of us said no beyond our Twitter handles and Facebook? Even though social media, I don't want to undermine the power of the social media, but I think we must begin to advance the cause of our struggle beyond the social media to the street through peaceful protest, legitimate actions, including court actions, to stop government from doing some of these, things that they embark upon that are considered, not to be in the interest of the people.
Well, we're gradually wrapping up the conversation, and I have a whole lot of interesting comments on our social media already. But I mean, let's move from this a little bit. Mr. Lawson, let's talk about local governments. When the Supreme Court gave that landmark judgment, a lot of Nigerians, took to different platforms, social media, media spaces like these, and they, applauded the government, applauded the Supreme Court for having the mind to, confirm the